Hey, everybody. This is Paya from Owning It, where I talk to people who are empowering their own path and owning it. And not only are they doing that, they are empowering other people and helping other people own it too. So I'm so excited to have my next guest here today. We actually go way back.
Mhm.
Um, I think 2011 was when I first got my job at the place where we both met, where I was a discharge planner for a medical field. And I met another badass who was very vocal, who was not shamed of being who she was. And yeah, and when you are very authentic, not everybody likes you. And those are my type of people. So everybody welcome Jodi Kay Benusa, who is the founder of USA Geriatric Services. So thank you, Jodi, for joining me today. How are you?
Oh, Paia, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I absolutely love guesting on podcasts. And anytime I get a chance to share my story, I'm never going to turn that down. So I am actually doing really great. So I'm sitting here in my office looking out my window. I live in bluff country, is what they call it. And the hills are just brilliant right now. So what could be better?
You created it. You created that life.
Yeah, I did.
You created this privilege to sit here on a Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. in Central Time to look at the bluffs.
Yes, I did. And now that you say it like that, it's interesting because a year ago, I wouldn't have said it so great, if you can believe it. So you are so right in the fact that I have created this. And whatever I have before me, whether it's positive or negative, I have created it.
Yeah, yeah. What was it about a year ago that you would not have had this much enthusiasm talking about it?
Sure. So a year ago, I will tell you that I lived in a comfortable little bungalow in my little city where I had my support group all around me and I knew everyone in the community, and my husband said, "We're moving." And I wasn't so sure about it. It's not that I was against it, but I didn't want to move. And we got to this new place and I was overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed, because I left my community. I left the people around me that I considered family because we were actually that close,
Mhm.
to out in the middle of nowhere and not knowing a single soul. So it took me almost a full year to say, wow, look at what I've got now. And I feel so much better.
That's so lovely, Jodi. I hear like the beauty of your voice. Like you're just at peace.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. It's funny. You talk about being comfortable and being. It sounds like you were kind of pushed out of your comfort zone.
I totally was, and again, I wasn't going to fight it because I had no reason really why I had to stay in my comfortable little familiar surroundings. Um, no reason at all. So I just came along for the ride, so to speak, and went, oh my gosh, now I'm here in the middle of nowhere. It's winter and I don't know anyone. And anybody who knows me that I'm a social butterfly.
Hmm.
So
You are.
it took me a good 9 months to kind of get over myself, if you will,
Mhm. Yeah.
and to adjust and embrace the beauty that is around me now.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing what state you live in?
No, I live in central Wisconsin. Actually, for those listeners who know Wisconsin at all, I brag that I live on the west coast of Wisconsin because I look out my window and I can see the Mississippi River. So I'm on the west coast.
Now you're in central Wisconsin?
Hmm. Yes.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah. For anybody who knows the geography of Wisconsin, central Wisconsin, correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of known as like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. I am fortunate that I do have a city within just a few miles, so I can do all my shopping and such. But I do live pretty much out in the boondocks and hoping that my internet holds out.
You know what, Jodi? We're just going as is, and if things happen, things happen. And if we need pause, we can pause. That's the lovely thing about doing this is people who are watching this, Jodi and I are just winging it right now. I don't know if I should say that, but my microphone, I was like, oh my God, my microphone is not working. So I hope you all can hear this. And you know what? We can look back at this episode and laugh at it in the future and
Mhm,
say, you know what? Look how far we've come with
mhm,
this. I'm in my bedroom with your own pathway here. And things are, yeah, you don't know until you try things. I'm so excited that you're here. And when I was thinking about bringing guests on, I'm like, who's that badass who is doing it? And I thought of you. I like, I gotta get Jodi Benusa on here because she's such a badass, knowing our work past, knowing
mhm,
how much stuff we went through emotionally, psychologically. The system, working in the medical system, is not for the faint of heart.
mhm, mhm. There's nothing more I can say because that is just spot on.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I said, like, I wanted to invite you and I started this podcast,
Mhm.
you mentioned, I know you, so I knew you were going to do this. And I was like, well, why don't you tell me? I'm like, wait a minute. Let's share on the podcast. And I wanted us to be authentic, real. I
Mhm.
don't get offended. And, I just want to say have fun and be real and have our viewers see who we are as people and not as these people who we have a facade. So this is a Paia and this is Jodi. Like we are two old friends. The only thing I'm missing is a Cosmo. So um, what would your drink of choice be right now? I have water, but what would your drink of choice be if you had one?
If I could right now, I don't know. Maybe kind of like a hard cider.
Oh, okay. A
It's
hard
fall.
cider.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is fall. It
Yeah.
is fall. It's a little warmer than it's been. Last week
Mhm.
was really cold for anybody who is not watching from the Midwest. Yesterday was like 80, today's like 70 something. So this is a little warmer and but we still want our fall stuff. Like I had my pumpkin spice latte coffee this morning and now I'm thinking about a Cosmo and you're thinking of um, cider, you said, right?
Mhm.
Cider. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like what were your thoughts when I invited you to come and speak about your experience?
So my very first thought, the first thing that came up for me, I think, Paia, was the fact that I can't wait to link arms with you and share our stories with other people who are a badass, but they're afraid to be one. So that was like kind of like the first thing that came up for me. Like you said, we both went through a lot of stress with the jobs that we had. We did
Yeah.
not work directly together, but our units were side by side. So we did see each other and we always gave each other that look of understanding, that look that I know what you're going through right now.
Mhm.
And so anytime that I can share our story and encourage people just to truly be their authentic self, I'm totally going to take advantage of that.
Mhm. Did you feel that you could be your authentic self at work, or did you feel like you had to censor yourself a lot?
So I will tell you, this is an honest truth right here. I was taught how to be bashful. I was told to be bashful. I was pretty much taught, and that's through my education. That was through my parents, my community. That's what I was taught, that it was polite. It was the ladylike thing to do, is to be bashful, to be respectful, to be quiet. And I can so clearly remember in sixth grade, I said, I'm done. This is not who Jodi Kay is. Jodi Kay is not bashful. And from that point on, I kind of let it fly, so to speak. I did get in trouble sometimes in school because I would just crack jokes when it was inappropriate, or, I was that kid. I'm going to tell you, you don't know this about me. I was that kid in school that I would get a bunch of us together and say, hey, let's go do this little naughty thing and let's do this. And I would lead the way and then I would fall back and I would be involved and I never got in trouble.
Ooh, you know how to play it then.
Yeah. So when I moved to Wisconsin and got the job as the hospital discharge planner, I really wasn't used to censoring myself so much. And I quickly learned that if I'm going to keep a job and keep employed by this particular establishment, I needed to be quiet. And the longer that I was quiet, the more angry and frustrated I became. And I really had no idea that that was actually happening inside of me. I didn't realize how angry I was. I was not sleeping. I was not, I didn't find joy in some of the things that I used to have. And I really understood about halfway through my career as a discharge planner that the reason that I was so frustrated is because I couldn't help my patients and their families the way they deserved. Now, I've owned my own businesses in the past. I understand the business side. But when you are in healthcare, you really want it to be about the person, the patient, the family, patient-centered care. And because of hospital rules and Medicare regulations, we couldn't do that. And the longer that I was forced to follow the rules and not care for my patients and families, the more that took a toll on my mental health.
I think so many people can relate to how you're feeling. And this is why so many people are leaving the healthcare system. And I can say right now, I will never go back to the healthcare system. I would never, ever go back to the healthcare system, no matter, and this is probably a little out there, but even if I didn't have a job, I don't think I could go back to the healthcare system.
Yeah. Yeah. I could if I was the only one. If I was my own boss. But yeah, so literally, and we won't need to go into detail now, but what I did is I loved my job. I really did. I had some of the toughest cases, as you know.
You did.
Working with neurosurgery patients and orthopedic patients. I loved doing what I was doing. So what I did is I took that very specialized skill set and brought it to the public. So I still get to do the job that I love, but now for the public.
Yeah. I noticed that a lot of people in our field, like social work. So you and I are both social workers. And then I transitioned to therapy, and then I'm transitioning to being a content creator, coaching, consulting. For any social workers out there or anybody in medical field, I just want to remind you all that you have a lot of skills. You have a lot of skills and knowledge that you can transfer it to another setting of your own making. And yes. I think we've been conditioned so much as hospital workers to give and give and give that we deplete and we don't have enough to give for ourselves. And at some point, it sounded like you knew that you had to forge your own path.
Yes. Yep. You want to hear how all that happened?
Yeah, tell us.
Okay, so I'm sharing this in hopes that I can encourage someone else who is on that teetering edge and you don't know if you can go into work tomorrow because the stress is so high. So here's how it kind of went down, and just real quickly. I was kind of in trouble at work and had to meet with my supervisor on a regular basis. And I just did not like that. I did not like that she was reading every note that I wrote and critiquing absolutely everything I did. And that's because of my personality, that I'm happy to follow some rules. I'm happy to do that, but I don't need to be corrected 24/7.
Yeah.
That's the part that was making the hair on the back of my neck stand up. So I talked to my husband and I said, I think I'm just going to quit. And he goes, I support you. So I made my decision and I called my manager and I said, hey, can I come down and talk to you? And we sat down and I shared with her that I just don't feel like I can do this any longer. And I wasn't mean or snotty or snobby or rude or anything. And I just resigned just like that. And I had no idea, Paia, no idea what I was going to do. I had no plan, no plan. And literally, I think it was 3 days after I resigned, my husband, it was 3 days after I quit, after it was my last day. My husband and I went on vacation, a long driving vacation out to Colorado, and he was sleeping in the car. And that's typical for him because he does so much driving. I don't mind driving. I was driving down the interstate and literally the idea for USA Geriatric Services fell on my lap as I was driving. Like I had to pull over at a rest stop and start taking notes because the download was so strong. And I believe, Paia, the reason why that happened the way that it did is because I was out from underneath that stress.
Mm-hmm.
I could actually think, I could be creative, I could enjoy the ride, so to speak, to Colorado, and everything just came to me. So that's literally how it all got started.
Wow. What would you say to someone who was going through what you were going and are asking themselves, can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Can I go in another day?
Yeah. Can you go in another day? So you really have to evaluate your mental health, your state of mind. That is so important. If you can identify with the fact that, gosh, I don't think I'm doing so good. I don't know if I'm doing so well. We hear this so much, but I can't stress it enough to make sure that you take care of yourself first. Because if you're not taking care of your mental health, you're not going to be able to serve anyone, no matter what your job is. So, in my mind, really just evaluating where you are, accepting where you are, and then going from there. I don't want to say just go quit your job. I don't want to say that because that's not right for everyone. But sometimes just subtle mindset shifts or different ways of thinking can just free you up so much. So I definitely would have someone who feels like they're teetering reach out to you, reach out to me, and let's talk it through. Let's come up with a plan.
Yeah. You know, Jodi, your story is not remarkable. I'm not saying that it's not. So many people are feeling exactly the way how you felt.
Mm-hmm.
How you felt, where it's like, can I do this? Can I actually go in? I've had thoughts, it wouldn't be too bad if I got into a car accident today, At least I'll get like a day or two off and I can actually rest. I think we are so, and I
Mm-hmm.
spoke with this with my previous guests too, where we are so used to languishing,
Mm-hmm.
being miserable, that we think that's the life to have. We think that's the life in America, is to be
Yeah.
miserable, working, wishing your life away.
Yeah. When you can't wake up with a hint of joy in your heart and in your mind every morning, something's off. Something's not right. And maybe that's the first sign is where's your joy? When you wake up in the morning, my grandmother taught me this. When you wake up in the morning, do you say, "Good morning, Lord"? Or do you say, "Good Lord, it's morning"? So that's something that's a good joy tester right there.
Grandma was full of a lot of wisdom.
Yes, she was.
And sadly, I think it's the latter that so many people are feeling right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I was also one of those, and I just want to say this because I'm sure that we have a diverse age range listening to this
Yeah.
podcast. But I fall in that era where self-care was selfish.
Hmm. Especially
That's
as a woman.
yes, that's something that no, you take care of everyone else. You do
Mhm.
for everyone else.
Yeah.
But just a few years ago is when I finally embraced that if I don't take care of myself in a
Hmm.
non-selfish way, I can't serve. I can't serve the clients that I currently have. I couldn't serve you in this podcast. I have
Hmm.
got to make sure that my mental health, my state of mind is on an okay playing field, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And we always think of, when you're in the plane, they say help yourself before you can help anybody else.
Mhm. Yes. Yep. If I don't have my own oxygen mask on, how am I going to be able to help you?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Viewers, remember that, okay?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned what happened to you because when I was there, I still got my notes being monitored too. And that honestly, that really pissed me off because I was thinking of all things to worry about, you worry about my notes when I show up every day, I'm busting my ass off, and all you can see is what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. That gets old real fast, doesn't it?
It does. And you start questioning, what is the purpose in me doing all of this?
Yeah.
What is the purpose? Why am I busting my butt off
Yeah.
for someone who's going to read my notes to see if
Hmm.
I'm doing my job?
Hmm.
Why don't you come and actually see me
Hmm.
do my job versus my notes?
Yes. Yep. I could not agree more. Yeah. That was probably that that was the hardest part. That was the hardest point in my career as the hospital discharge planner was being scrutinized for everything and not really ever hearing any praise. Um, I have to this day people that have found me on Facebook. Jodi, you are the one who we could talk to when we were at the hospital. You were the one who understood. You were the one who helped us the most. That's why I was there. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I took a lot of the abuse, and I'm going to call it that,
Yeah.
that I took because of my patients. I never walked into a patient's room unless I had the attitude that patient is going to get the same care, the same attention that any one of my family members is going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a little secret. I don't necessarily like all my family members, but they're my family and they're going to get the best of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I never doubted that you would give half-ass care.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm. You use the word abuse, and I think a lot of us, it's hard for us to hear the word abuse because when we think of abuse, we think of physical abuse, and you think of having a intimate partner doing the abuse, but abuse in the workplace is something that we need to talk about.
Hmm.
That is very hidden. It's not talked about. It's not acknowledged because we've been taught about what abuse is, and we think that having abuse at work is part of the norm.
Right. Yep. Saddens my heart.
Hmm.
Even chokes me up a little bit
Yeah.
because it's not normal and it shouldn't be normal.
Hmm. What would you say to anyone who is going through abuse at work right
So, you know what? I'm going to say this first. If it feels like abuse to you, it is. I want to acknowledge that. Um, Now, somebody could swear at you at work, and you might think that's very abusive. Where on the other hand, someone else would say, "What's the big deal?" So my point is if you feel that it is abuse, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Next, I'm going to share, find a support system. And what I mean by that support system is be careful in surrounding yourself with people who are only going to say, oh, you poor thing. Oh, you poor thing. Of course, we need our feelings validated, but we need a support system that's going to lift us.
Mm-hmm.
We need a support system that is going to help us cope better. We don't need someone just going, yeah, can you believe she said that? I can't believe she. No, we need positive around us. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the next thing that I would share.
Yeah. Gaslight. We tend to gaslight ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
And for those who don't know what gaslighting means, it means thinking I'm the crazy one. I'm too sensitive. I'm overreacting. Because other people are telling you that you're too sensitive. You're overreacting. This is part of the work culture. Accept it. Don't be a baby. Don't be a wussy. And if you are feeling that you are being abused, trust your intuition, trust your feelings.
Mhm. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think so many of us are brought so low before we are forced to almost forge our own path.
Mhm.
And, I'm wondering, doing these episodes, if do we actually have to wait until we hit rock bottom before we forge our own path?
Oh, that is a really interesting question. Do we have to wait? No,
Mm-hmm.
but we tend to wait because of a fear of the unknown, because of self-doubt,
Mm-hmm.
because of uncertainty, because of unfamiliar territory. No, you do not have to wait. You
Mm-hmm.
can start anytime it feels right in your gut.
Mm-hmm. So part of you and I's job as social workers were we did power of healthcare documents.
Mhm.
And we talk a lot about quality of life because you and I work with patients who sometimes, their health really deteriorated.
Yeah.
And to help with the process, anybody who's ever worked in a process or who have loved ones in the hospital system, it is not an easy system to navigate. And we saw a lot of dynamics that came within families, and we helped them complete power of attorney for healthcare's
Mhm.
documents. And this is one of the reasons why I started Your Own Pathway was the quality of life. Because when you work in the hospital, you see a lot of things that change us and have a different outlook in our lives. And the quality of life. Why do we have to wait until something happens for us to start thinking about our quality of life?
That is such an important point. And I never thought about connecting our power of attorney for healthcare work with quality of life. That is, I love how you link that together. So we apply that same philosophy to almost everything else that's
Yeah.
going on around us. If you want a quality of life, you're going to exercise. If you want a quality of life, you're going to eat right. If you want a quality of life, you're going to do those things that help you rise to the top and be the best person that you can be. But when it comes to our job, like my job now enhances my quality of life.
Mhm.
It enhances who I am as an individual. And that's what was missing before. Does that make sense, Paya?
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm able to treat my clients like my family. I'm able to give 100% of me and work for my clients, which brings me extreme joy and satisfaction. That is no longer a job, it's a service. And that feels so much better.
Mm-hmm. I can see the joy radiating in your face when you're just telling about the work that you're doing. And I wish more people would get to feel how you're feeling, how I'm feeling, that we get to do this. And a lot of people who are listening to this or watching this, we think we don't think it's reality. When I don't know about you, but when I started my journey, a lot of people said, well, you know what, get back to reality. That's not how life works. And I want to challenge anybody who thinks that way, that you can create your own reality.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You are creating your own reality. That's
Yeah.
what a lot of people aren't getting, is if you're stuck in this reality that doesn't feel good or right, you're creating it.
Hmm.
So you have the choice of creating a negative reality, one that's not serving you well, one that you're not appreciating, or you have the choice of creating a reality that is loving, that is joyful, that is all the things. So both realities, you get a choice and you create whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And so you can create your reality. You can create your, I know this word gets thrown a lot in a negative way, but you can create your own privilege.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah. So tell me, Jodi, more about USA Geriatric Services.
Oh, sure. Just real quick, I refer to myself as an independent geriatric consultant. I specialize in a couple of things. First of all, I specialize in senior living placement services. That's what I do. I do it anywhere in the 50 states of the US. It doesn't matter where you live in the 50 states, the process is the same. People say, but how do you know that the senior living community for my mom in New Jersey is going to be the right one when you live in Wisconsin? Don't you have to go visit? No, I don't. When I
Mhm.
was the hospital discharge planner, I never left my office. I never visited anywhere. It's what I know. I know what questions to ask. And I can interview 15 communities in your area and give you my top 3 choices like that, because I know I have the experience. A lot of people, well, I like to say this: you need a haircut, you go to the salon. You need your car fixed, you take it to the mechanic. You need to find senior living, come to me, because that's my specialty. That's what I do. Why try to learn how to do that and waste time and cause yourself stress? Bring it to me. I'll take care of it for you. We can work it out. The second thing that I specialize in, Paya, and this, I really enjoy this. I do hourly emergency consulting. So you have an emergency or a crisis happening right now, between you and your loved one. Maybe they're in the hospital and they're getting discharged and you're not getting options. What do we do? What do we do? You can hire me for an hour and I will work through the process. A couple of very fast examples. I had a phone call from somebody in the emergency room. Mom fell, hurt her shoulder. They're sending her home. She can't care for herself. We can't stay with her. What do we do? So they hired me for an hour of consulting. I said, next thing that you're going to do is when the doctor comes back in, you're going to call me and you're going to put him on the phone with me.
Mhm.
And I shared that, hey, if you send this gal home, how do we know that she can even ambulate safely? How do we know if she needs any equipment? How do we know she's not going to fall again because she's unsafe and she breaks her hip? I said, all I need you to do is call to your PT appointment. I know you've got a PT in the ER. Have them do a quick home evaluation. Have them come in. And he yelled at me, which I expected, and that's fine.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
fine. And long story short, I got her admitted into the hospital under observation, which was fine. and we got her admitted to a rehab center the very next day.
Wow.
So it's just because I do understand the healthcare system inside
Yeah.
out, upside down, and I know how to talk to the doctors. Not afraid to talk to the doctors. I'm not afraid to talk to the therapist. I got one woman that was trapped in long-term care. She was trapped. The long-term care facility was charging the family $12,000 a month, and she was
Wow.
not getting any therapy unless they paid for it on top of that. I got her into an acute inpatient rehab, one of the best in the nation, and she's home.
Wow.
So if you have an emergency situation, there's all kinds of situations. You can hire me for an hour, and I can walk you through it.
I'm just amazed. And for anybody who's ever dealt with the hospital system, it is a nightmare. It is so stressful. Nobody is advocating for you because there's the PT, there's the doctors, the OT, and you would think that they talk to each other. They don't. They don't talk to each other. They don't talk to each other.
Rarely.
Since I moved up here, I would say the hospital systems up here are so different from where you and I came from, where I felt like there was a lot more communication, where there was a lot more plan of the care. Certain hospitals, they don't communicate at all. It's like, what's going on? And either you, the patient, have to know the hospital system, or you have to have someone advocating for you. And when you are the patient, you don't have the energy to advocate for yourself.
Yep. I can be your professional advocate.
Mm-hmm. What are you seeing a lot of? Because our boomers are aging, and I would say people my age who are, Gen X and millennials are now the sandwich generation where we are caring for our parents. What are things that you are seeing more of?
Yep. So the one thing that I always say and I always communicate is the biggest mistake that families make is waiting too long. And you can fill in the blank for whatever that is. Mm-hmm. If you need to have a difficult conversation with your aging parent, if you need to say to them, I can't do this anymore. What you fill in the blank, the biggest mistake is waiting too long to do that one thing. I have helped many families through my free 30-minute advocate assessment call work through situations, and let's see how we can work together. Let me help you talk to your brothers and sisters. Let me help you talk to your aging parent. Oh, you don't understand. They're never going to agree. I said, let's talk. Let me try. It's free. Let me try.
So you're a therapist, a mediator. What else do you do?
I'm a social worker. There you go.
You're a social worker. You are a social worker. This is what, as social workers, we wore so many hats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the other thing that anybody caught in that sandwich generation is, if you don't have that open line of communication like you want with your aging parent, start working on that now. Work on that. And then as that opens up, or if you do have a good line of communication, while you can, and review it every once in a while, what is your plan for what if, Mom, you fall and break your hip? What are we going to do? Know in advance, try to plan in advance as much as you can. It might sound crazy, but isn't that why you have car insurance? Because you want insurance in case your car gets smashed into. So think of this as an insurance policy. So you don't get caught in that crisis wondering, what the hell am I going to do now? So.
And we saw a lot of those crises when people are in the hospital. That's when I said we saw a lot of family dynamics. And we will always joke with our team that we can't fix family dysfunction in 7 days.
Right. If you were hospitalized 7 days.
Yeah, that's a long, I don't think, do you think do you stay in the hospital some days anymore?
Do I what, Paia?
I was like, do people even stay in the hospital 7 days anymore? They're trying to get you really, really quick discharged.
Yeah, that is really changing. There's so many bundled elective surgeries now that you're not even allowed on the medical floor.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of elective surgeries are bundled. That means what that means for anybody who's curious is that I'm just going to use Medicare as an example.
Yeah.
Medicare will pay the hospital X amount of dollars for an elective shoulder surgery. We'll just use that as an example.
Yeah.
And that includes everything. Everything. That includes any hospitalization, any rehab stays at rehab facilities. That includes equipment. It includes everything. So the faster they can get you out and not even admitted to the floor, the more money the hospital makes.
It all comes down to money and business.
Yeah. And I do get that. I do understand a hospital has to make up, they have to be able to pay everyone. I get that. But it's not fun when you're the patient.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking a lot about my hospital experience, and you and I worked with quite a few clients who went to hospice. And the Medicare and hospice was always so hard for me because Medicare doesn't pay for the room and board, they pay for the hospice services. So family is responsible, or the patient is responsible for that cost. Yes. And as social workers, we're often the ones who had to give bad news. And when systems like this occur, you start questioning, why am I part of the system?
Yeah. So you bring up an important point in that we were delivering the bad news. The family was on board with bringing on hospice, and then they quickly decide that they can't go home because there's no one there to provide the care, and hospice cannot give 24/7 care. So we're delivering that bad news. Sorry, this is going to cost you $400 a day out of your own pocket. But on the other hand, we also, Paia, and maybe this was a part of our burnout, is that we had to keep everyone happy. We had to keep the nurses happy. We had to keep the doctors happy. We had to keep the therapists happy. We had to keep insurance happy. We had to keep the families happy, and we had to keep the patients happy. We had to keep our boss happy. We had to keep everyone happy.
We did. I remember one day I did not do my 2 to 3 referrals for the day because I was so busy, and UM was like, I'm going to give you some kind of like PA because you didn't do your job. And I thought to myself, go ahead. If you think I am concerned about that damn PA, whatever, I don't even know what that stands for now. I'm like, if you think that that's going to get me to do my job more, honey, you're in the wrong. At this point, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah. And we had to try to keep everybody happy. We do systems, we were the person in the middle. Yeah. And this is the reason why we forged our own path. I think this is why you forged your own path.
Yes. Yep. I also have that personality. And you don't have to have this personality trait at all to forge your own path. But I'm that type of person that tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do it 5 times anyway. I just say that just to make us laugh a little bit. I'm sure some of us can relate.
I see you as the type that gets the big, the finger while you're walking and just saying, I'm going to do it 5 times just to piss you off. And you're right. You don't have to have that type of personality to forge your own path. You don't. And anyone who's watching this, listening to this, my intention of doing these episodes is to really say, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until you're down in your luck, until you're not sleeping, you're not eating, where You're not able to function anymore. If you want to forge your own path, do it. You don't have to do like the rest of us where we were just like, I can't do this crap anymore. I can't do this shit anymore. You don't have to wait. You can do it. Be like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. This
Yeah.
is the whole point. This is the whole intention of your own pathway is saying you can do it whenever you want. Don't wait. Don't wait until you're the point where Jodi and I was.
Mhm. Well said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, how are you empowering other people to own it with your
So,
services?
yeah, I love that question. So, um, I'm the one that does all the heavy lifting, but then you take the information that I give you and you make it work the best for you. I do all the icky, hard stuff, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you use that to help your aging loved one live their best life. To me, that's divine right there. That is what it's all about. I there's not one way is the only way. There's one way that we can make that work in many different scenarios. And I love helping families forge their own path so their aging loved one is just doing the very best that they can. That's what I love doing.
Yeah. Again, I can see the joy radiating from you when you talk about this, and you're empowering people to forge their own path and to own it. And it sounds like you help them own it by giving them informed choices.
Mhm.
Like you give them information, and ultimately they get to decide what is best for them and their loved ones.
Yes. Yep. I'm just going to say this real quick. You know what drove me nuts, and you brought it up not too long ago, is you didn't make your 3 referrals. You know what? I got so sick and tired of making referrals to rehab communities that the patients did not want to go to.
Yeah.
That was not allowing them to forge their own path. That was putting them in a box and shipping them off and hoping that maybe one day they'll return home.
Yeah.
Now, for me, owning it, to use your language, owning it, when a family hires me, I own that you've hired me.
Mm-hmm.
I take that seriously. I take on that responsibility and do the very best that I can possibly do.
Mm-hmm. It's like changing the destination,
Yes.
changing the destiny.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. And when we worked in that system, we were actually, I don't know about you, but I felt that I was actually doing more harm than good
At
because the
times.
system was so against all of us that I think there's a lot of moral injury that we went through as healthcare workers and working in a system that we worked in.
Yeah. Yeah. When my back was pushed up against the wall and I knew that I was being forced to do something that would not serve my family or my patient well, I would take the fall.
Mhm.
I would get in trouble. And I would do that for my patient every time. Not every time, but yeah, I
Mhm.
was not afraid to do that.
Mhm. It sounds like, we were taught so much about our ethics, and yet our ethics were constantly and consistently challenged.
Yes.
Our ethics and our values and who we are were consistently being challenged by the system
Yes. Yep.
and by our bosses. I mean, it felt like all of our hands were tied, and yet all we wanted was, I don't know about you, but support.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you're doing your best. I know, keep doing it. But instead, it was like, what, you're not doing enough. There was a lot of finger pointing at us.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It feels so good, Paia, to actually be able to own it. Feels so good.
Yeah. And so, what does owning it mean for you now?
That means, so owning it means I am my own boss. So I do this little thing once in a while. Like, I think I'm going to take a couple hours off this afternoon, but hold on. I got to ask the boss. Let me see what she says. And
Oh
depending
wait,
on,
oh wait.
yeah, depending on the sassiness of my boss at the moment, she might say, no, now you sit down and you get that work done. Or she might say, go ahead and take a couple hours off. You deserve it.
You deserve it. Yeah. That brings up a great question. How was it when you first became your own boss?
So I have owned multiple businesses in my past. I'm that is a very easy thing for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Be my own boss. I am disciplined. I do have consistency. I do follow a plan. Um, as long as you're able to discipline yourself, and discipline is giving yourself a command and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline doesn't mean I'm gonna pound you down today because you're not doing your job. Discipline is giving yourself a command and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that personally I'm very good at.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, being my own boss is what I love.
You know, when I first became my own boss in 2022, I had no HR and no boss to ask about what date I can start. And it was so weird. I was like, I opened up my business as I was asking my office mate, I'm like, can I start at this date? And she looked at me, she goes, honey, you can start whenever. I'm like, oh, oh my God. Oh, that's what it feels like. Oh my God, I'm HR and I'm the manager. Like, oh God, this is a lot of decision making. And
Mhm.
once I came over, my I don't have to ask permission anymore.
Yeah.
I can do whatever. And you're right. There's a difference between command and punishing yourself. And I think we've all been punishing ourselves. We're used to being punished. That trauma, it's a lot. When we talked about the abuse, there's a lot of trauma where we're so used to the trauma of work that when we have this freedom, it's almost like slowly stepping out of this cage and thinking that something is going to come after us. And you have to kind of go out there slowly, look out and look for danger, and you realize there's no more danger.
That is a wonderful analogy. I'm just really thinking back and how I went looking out of my cage. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. About all these analogies. Yeah, and it's what would your words be for anyone who is contemplating all of this, forging their own path and want to own it?
So I think first, what's coming to mind for me is tell me more about forging your own path. What would you do? Start there. What would you do? And once you land on something that this is what I want to do, then start researching it. That's what I did. I started researching. I couldn't find anyone that was doing what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um, if you have lots of competition, study those people. If this is something you really want to do, like let's say that you want to become a coach.
Mhm.
There are thousands of coaches. Find your niche and then study other coaches that are in that niche and discover how you can do better.
Mhm.
Be better. So that's the fun part of forging your own path. That's the fun part to me.
Mhm. And what does owning it for Jodi?
So owning it for me in simple terms is that I get to own every decision. And every decision is going to have a consequence, whether it's good or bad. But you know what? It's something that I get to own. And if I choose to be lazy for a day, I have to own that.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be a negative consequence the next day, but it might be just what the doctor ordered for that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think just embracing the freedom. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I sit here like 8, 9 hours every day and I bust my butt helping my clients. I love it. But it's just that I get to own the decisions, the progress, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I take responsibility and I take responsibility seriously.
I love that. I think the main word that I hear is get, not have. I get to do this. I get to get up. I get to, own my decisions. I get to. And it's really reframing the words of, ugh, I have to do this. Ugh, I have to do that. It's like, I get to do this.
Yeah.
I get to be on a podcast. I get to look at, my window. I get to do all of this. And I take accountability regardless of the decision. And I'm going to own those decisions, even if they're positive consequences or negative consequences that I had to learn from.
Perfect. Yep. I get to. I get to.
I get to. So anybody who's watching this, changing your language is I get to, not I have to, I get to, because that shows a lot more gratitude.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Preach it. Amen.
Woohoo! What other things do you feel that other people should know about you or that you want to share?
I guess if you know of someone or if you yourself are struggling with knowing what decisions to make or how to help your aging loved one, feel free to schedule that call with me. It's 30 minutes free. You can invite whomever you want to on that call. Let's just talk about it. Let's get the ball rolling. Let me give you something that you can use. Follow me on if you're on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
if you're on Facebook. I am on Instagram too, but under USA Geriatric Services, I really try to publish meaningful, helpful posts. I don't try to do fluff, 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 fluff. I really try to help feed my families and my potential clients. And you're going to know when it's the right time to reach out. Visit the website, usageriatricservices.com. I've got lots of videos in there. I explain more about who I am, how everything works. Real quick, I do things differently than the nationally known senior living locators. They advertise as being free, but I'm going to tell you they cost you a lot. They cost you your first month or two's rent that you don't even know that you're forfeiting.
Okay.
But more than that, you're giving up the right choice for your loved one. They're going to send out 7 or 8 referrals and it's first come, first serve. And the one that might be the best, they might not even have a contract with. So you can kiss that one goodbye. So, yeah.
Wow, lots of things to know. And just for everybody to know, all of Jodi's information will be in description link below. So if you didn't catch her, that's perfectly fine. All of that will be linked in below. And Jodi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And did you ever think that you and I would be doing this?
Oh, isn't it just wonderful? No.
13, 14 years later that you and I would be doing this.
Yeah, this is just, I'm covered in goosebumps all of a sudden when you said that. Yeah, look at how far we've come because we've decided to own it and forge our own path.
Right. Anybody who's watching this, your path can change so much. So much. And believe in yourself, own it, go for it, because amazing things, blessings, abundance will be in your life and you get to do this. you get to create the life that you truly only thought that you can dream of. It's not a dream, it's a reality. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Any final words, Jodi, before we end the episode?
No, I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and asking me to participate in your podcast. I wish you the best. And I know that you are going to continue to soar. And I can't wait to see where all of this takes you.
Oh, thank you, Jodi. Thank you. When I become big, I will always remember you. So I'll invite you on my future talk show, okay?
Hey, all right. I'll be there.
Come to New York, LA, or London, wherever we're filming then.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jodi. And again, if you are new here, please hit the subscribe button and like button and all of Jodi's information. If you want to reach out to her, have a free consultation, all her information is below. So thank you so much, Jodi. And it was such a pleasure. And I wish you all the best of luck too.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, I'll see you next time.